Gunmen armed with automatic weapons and grenades have stormed two mosques in Pakistan. They struck when members of the minority Ahmadi sect in Lahore had just gathered for Friday prayers. The coordinated attacks left 80 dead and dozens more wounded.
In hospital, we met one of the survivors, Rashid. He was hit by 3 bullets and witnessed the killing of a young boy who just wanted to give his father some water.
The son was offering him water, and while he was drinking water, these 2 people came in and they shot him point blank. I can't forget that. It was very, I thought they would spare them, but they did not spare.
Inside the mosques, it seems that no one was spared, killed for their faith in a country already awash with blood.
Police move in to face gunmen who've attacked 2 mosques in the Pakistani city of Lahore. These attacks have killed at least 70 people and wounded at least 78. Shortly after Friday prayers, gunmen opened fire on worshippers of the minority Ahmadi sect. Authorities said the attackers also threw what could have been grenades and took an undisclosed number of hostages. The 4 million odd Ahmadis are a minority Muslim sect who've seen their rights suppressed. Pakistan is the only Muslim state to have declared them non-Muslims.
In London, the head of the Ahmadiyya sect reacted.
God will take revenge on the opposition who have tried to collectively destroy us. How he does it is up to him. How he'll catch those responsible, he alone knows. But God will teach a lesson to those who challenge him again and again.
This community knew it was under threat in Pakistan, but to have dozens of its men and boys gunned down as they prayed was far beyond the worst fears of most here. Anisa Manava lost her 17-year-old son in the attack. She lived through his ordeal with him over the phone.
Walid called us from the mosque. He told us about the gunmen and all the injured people. When he called again, he said the attackers were coming to where he was hiding. Then the line went dead.
Nearly 100 others were killed when 2 packed mosques of the minority Ahmadi sect were stormed by militants. They roamed freely for hours. Children were among those who were shot dead at close range. Well, this is the entrance to an area where the vast majority of people are Ahmadi. But just over the last couple of weeks, these security barriers have cropped up, as well as barbed wire and perimeter walls. And that's because, far from receiving the type of sympathy they'd expect after the horrific attack on their community, the people here say they've had more death threats. There have been statements from clerics declaring Ahmadis non-Muslims and deserving of death. Many Pakistanis agree. That's why Aftab, who escaped the attack but saw many die right here, is afraid to reveal his identity. I'm so sad and angry, he says. Some said they were proud of the killers. Others handed out sweets to celebrate. Not even our neighbours came to pay their condolences. Just because we're Ahmadi doesn't mean we're not human.
मुखालिफीन हमें कहते हैं कि कुरान करीम की इस तालीम के ख़िलाफ़ हज़रत सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के मुकाम की तारीफ़ करो, वरना हम तुम्हारी गर्दनें काटेंगे। हमारी तारीफ़ के मुताबिक ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह पर अमल करने के लिए तैयार हो तो ठीक, वरना मरने के लिए तैयार हो जाओ। हमारी तारीफ़ के मुताबिक मोहम्मद रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की तारीफ़ को समझने के लिए तैयार हो तो ठीक, वरना अपनी जान से हाथ धोने के लिए तैयार हो जाओ। हम अपने मुखालिफीन से कहते हैं कि हमें इस कलमे की कसम जो क़यामत के दिन हमारे और तुम्हारे दरमियान फैसला करके बताएगा कि ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह मोहम्मद रसूलुल्लाह से हकीकी वफा करने वाले हम हैं कि तुम।
इस्लाम अहमदिया हजरत खातमुल अंबिया मोहसिन इंसानियत।
और और जमात अहमदिया की 121 साल की साला तारीख गवाह है कि जब भी इलाही तकदीर के तहत जमात पर इब्तिला आया, अल्लाह ताला ने जमात को सबात कदम अता फरमाया, दुआओं की तरफ राग़िब किया और जमात की मुतज़र्रियाना और मुस्तरबाना दुआओं को कबूल फरमाते हुए कामयाबियों की तरफ पहले से बढ़कर रवां दवां कर दिया और बशर साबिरीन की खुशखबरी का मिस्दाक बना दिया। बस आज भी जो जुल्म जमात पर पाकिस्तान में रवा रखा जा रहा है और जिसकी इंतहाई बहीमाना और जालमाना सूरत लाहौर में अहमदियों पर इज्तिमाई हमले की सूरत में सामने आई है, और हमला भी खुदा के घर में खुदा की इबादत करने वाले नहिते अहमदियों पर। तो क्या उस वक्त जब हमला हो रहा था, उस वक्त जिस सब्र और हौसला और इस्तिरार से अहमदी दुआएं कर रहे थे और उसके बाद आज तक अहमदियों में इस्तिरारी कैफियत कायम है और दुआओं में मसरूफ़ हैं, तो क्या खुदा ताला इन दुआओं को नहीं सुनेगा? सुनेगा और इंशाअल्लाह यकीनन सुनेगा, ये उसका वादा है। ये जुल्म जो खुदा के नाम पर खुदा वालों से रवा रखा गया और रखा जा रहा है, क्या इस बात पर खुदा की गैरत जोश नहीं दिखाएगी? दिखाएगी और यकीनन दिखाएगी।
The massive floods which are raging through northwestern Pakistan have now killed at least 1,100 people. Emergency workers are struggling to save thousands of others who are still trapped. The situation is being made worse by waterborne diseases, which some of those in rescue camps suffering with fever and skin problems. The UN estimates that about 1.5 million people are affected by the country's worst monsoon rains in memory.
Pakistan is struggling to recover from its worst flooding in 80 years. Monsoon season has already killed 1,500 people and left millions more in need of help. Today, the floodwaters pushed into the heart of the country and threatened to surge south.
The latest aerial footage from Pakistan showing what's being called the flood of the century. The search and rescue efforts are continuing. Aid agencies say entire villages have been washed away in the worst flooding for 80 years.
The worst monsoon rains in 80 years have left 1,100 people dead and large areas in the northwest of the country underwater. Whole villages have been washed away and 1.5 million people are short of clean water, food and shelter. There are already reports of cholera outbreaks and forecasters are warning there's yet more torrential rain to come.
650,000 homes like this have been destroyed, and there's more bad weather on the way. In the south, 500,000 people have now been evacuated. It's thought 12 million people's lives have now been disrupted by the worst floods in Pakistan's history, and they won't be the last victims.
And over the past several days, it's become clear that things aren't improving. They're actually getting worse. And I think that's why the UN chief is here. He was in Dubai. Pakistan's interior minister flew out there to escort him back. A CNN crew was on that flight. During that flight, the interior minister briefed Mr. Ban on the situation on the ground and using maps showed him the flood zones that extend all the way from northwest Pakistan to central Pakistan. The UN says one-fifth of Pakistan is underwater. That's the equivalent of the state of Florida underwater. Mr. Ban says this disaster in Pakistan is worse than the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami and the 2005 earthquake here in Pakistan combined. And